So what's a Grape Explorer talking about today? So we are starting our journey to trying different wines from all different regions, but we had a very nice trip a couple of years ago. We went up to upstate New York and checked out, for the first time for me, the Finger Lakes region, and I was just blown away with the industry up there. If you ever had a chance to, or ever have a chance, you're quite close to Rochester, but there's so many different places to see. And they call it the Finger Lakes because, you know, you have a lot of different lakes and it's just a magnificent area. But we're going to focus in on what we feel is the father to top-level grape growing in the state of New York. And that's Dr. Konstantin Frank, who is just a very interesting guy. They're celebrating 60 years, 4 generations strong of the Frank family, been leading grape growers and winemakers throughout the region. If we can point it out on our map here, this is our Hugh Johnson book. But what we call Dr. Konstantin Frank ignited what was called the Vinifera Revolution. It was a movement that forever changed the course of wine growing in the Finger Lakes. Dr. Konstantin Frank earned his PhD in viticulture from Odessa, Ukraine in 1930, and he was a top-level scientist on grape growing in Eastern Europe. He immigrated to New York in 1951. He did not speak a word of English, and he was determined, though, because he went to this area and he found this one area which he thought was the closest thing to what he would call Eastern Europe, to develop what is now called the Konstantin Frank Winery. So we talk about the icons of the wine industry. As you know, I've been bringing up quite a number of our past producers that we feel have been what we call the founding fathers of our wine industry, especially in the United States. And this guy is definitely one of them. So he was a very interesting guy, but you know, they've got all different varietals. Of course, Riesling is the king in this area. And if you ever get a chance to go to this winery, you feel like you're in the Mosel because, you know, the vineyards are going down right to the lake that exists there. And you know, when I say the Finger Lakes, this is located in what's called Kuka Lake, and just again, magnificent area of New York. If you never get a chance to come to upstate New York, we call it, you know, you come to the Finger Lakes, and you're going to be shocked when you see the amount of wineries now that are really bustling and really doing really well. But this guy was the guy. So what you want to talk about is one of his grapes. This is a Pinot Gris. Pinot Gris is a very fascinating grape. It's king in Alsace, but you also see it all over Eastern Europe. And it was a grape that originated, believe it or not, in Burgundy. So it is one of the grapes that you can find in Burgundy, but they call it Pinot Blanc. They don't call it Pinot Gris. But at the same time, it's the same grape that exists in Burgundy and then just transplanted to all different types of places. But we wanted to taste this wine because we broke it out of the cellar. So this is another version of what we call Up From the Cellar. This is 2019 Pinot Gris from Dr. Konstantin Frank. It's just beautiful apricots, and you get all that pear and citrus notes in the nose. This is actually a drier version, but just a beautiful wine. 2019, you know, we got a chance to buy it at the winery there. You might not be able to find it in too many places, but of course in New York, you can find it in some key wine shops that are carrying Finger Lakes wines. But beautiful expression, perfume, and this is a wine, you know, typically you got to drink, I think, a little young, but at the same time, we're going to taste this wine. You get all that pinpoint fruit. You get terrific acidity, which of course is very, very important to me. I like that balance. You get this long, lingering, but tangy, beautiful fruit flavors. This is just an excellent wine. This was a wine that we actually bought because we like to pair a lot of spicy food. We love Indian curry, and we're always looking for wines that we can pair with some spicier dishes. And that's the reason why we thought this wine would be perfect. We also brought from this guy a Grüne Veltliner, which, of course, that's the grape of Austria that we'll talk about in a future episode. But again, we wanted to give a shout out to Dr. Konstantin Frank, who one of the leading, foremost grape growers in New York and makes terrific wines. Again, cheers to this property. It's their 60th anniversary.